Mic check 1 2. We got to talk about retro video game pricing currently. But before we do that, I got to take you guys through this blast from the past that came by way of a Facebook Marketplace deal. So what we're looking at here is a mint condition Sega Game Gear and some pretty cool accessories that came along with it. And I'm going to show you guys this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of this retro game pricing here. But let's first take a look at this what is this? The Super Zoom rather, magnifying glass for the Game Gear. This was purchased from Walmart 30 years ago. And this is just crazy to see this and see this box. Just seeing, the dude that I bought it from, he pretty much kept a lot of this stuff just in a garage, packed away. And whenever I see stuff like this, like with the old school Walmart sticker, it just blows me away. But yeah, in here we do have the Super Zoom. I'm not gonna take it out, but it is in really good condition. The gentleman that I bought this from said that he used to work overnight. He used to work an overnight job, and sometimes it would get so boring back in the 90s that he actually went and bought himself a Game Gear to keep himself busy. That's so crazy. Like when you think about keeping yourself busy at work, most of us now would probably just be on our phone, right? But in terms of like a console, most people would probably go and get like a Nintendo Switch. But 35 years ago, Game Gear was the option. And so that's what he went for. But let's dive into some of these games, and then we'll take a look at the console, and then we'll take a look at some of this pricing. So nothing too crazy when it came to the games, no big splashes games wise, but I'll show you what he had here and we'll take a look. So first he has this copy of Poker. Let's see, can I open this with one hand? I can't. So we have Poker here. Probably not a game that I'm going to be playing a bunch. And then we have Blackjack. So he definitely liked his Poker and his Blackjack back in the day. Those were two games that he got. And then I think this game might have been a pack-in game. So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Game Gear, pretty clean. I mean, all of these are clean. They all have their plastic cases. When I was buying it from him, I tried to see if I could get the Game Gear box and the boxes for all the games, but he didn't have them. He only had the box for the Super Zoom. But he did have a copy of Sonic 2. And probably the most, not rare, but probably the most valuable game out of the bunch is Sonic Blast. Didn't really realize Sonic Blast was that expensive. I mean, a price charge for around 35, but some of the listings I see on eBay are like 45. So pretty good deal. Pretty good deal on that. So grab those there. So we had those 4 games. We have the Super Zoom. We have the carrying case. And then the biggest thing of all. Now, the reason why I picked this up is ordinarily I wouldn't just pick up a Game Gear because we all know the many problems that Game Gears tend to have in terms of like the capacitor, the capacitors being burnt out, the screen's not working, just, overall damage and not really being kept up. But this thing is, I mean, minty. I mean, really, really clean. Probably the cleanest Game Gear I've ever owned or had. I mean, that screen is like scratch free. And you can tell that this was an adult-owned console, right? Like he bought it as an adult while working an overnight job to keep him busy. I could easily see him back there in the 90s, probably listening to some soft rock, in his, at his desk with a cup of coffee overnight, just jamming out to some Sonic. But even if you look at the back here, I mean, the back of this thing is like so clean, like not a single scratch on here. Just a super clean console, probably the cleanest Game Gear I've ever seen. And so that was really what drew me to want to pick it up. And so I did go ahead and grab it. It does work. The screen does work. It's not like the best screen on the planet, but it does work, right? We're talking about 30-year-old technology, and these capacitors do tend to fail. So, I mean, I don't foresee myself getting like years and years of playtime out of this console before the screen actually goes. But if I power it on, it does work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and flick it on here. And as you can see, get a little volume. Man, that's classic. Look at that. Classic. classic. I mean, so the screen isn't horrible, right? And I'm trying to do this with one hand, but there you go, right? So, I mean, as you can see, it works. It's in great shape. It's in great condition. It does come with a battery pack, so even if like the batteries run out, I can still play this. It does have the Game Gear battery pack, and I thought it was a pretty good value. Again, primarily because of the condition. So many of these things are just absolutely beat to hell, and this one was in great shape. Overall, this overall bundle ran me about 115, which again I was more than okay paying. The Sonic Blast and Sonic 2 probably somewhere between 45 and 50 bucks for those in terms of market price. And then the cost of a Game Gear on average is like 50 to 60 bucks. I don't know what a game store would try to sell one this clean for. I'm assuming they'd probably demand a premium, but I felt okay giving him, market rate for these pieces because these pieces were in almost like new condition. The only thing that would have made this purchase better would have been if this had the box. Oh man, that would have been lovely. But we also have some other pickups here. I'll show you guys some of these, some interesting stuff here. So, and these were all from GameStop. We have RoboCop 2. We have Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury. We have the Legacy of Goku 2. We have Uncharted Golden Abyss, really clean copy, and Super Mario DS. So I have been able to go in there and grab some really cool pieces from GameStop to add to the collection. But this is a piece that I actually got online. So I had the opportunity to purchase this game. So this is One Piece for the Game Boy Advance, and I did have an opportunity to purchase this game during GameStop's buy two get one promo that they had a couple months ago. And I think GameStop was selling this game for $119. The problem was that the copy that they had, the label was like half of it was like chewed off right here, and it was completely like washed out. The color was washed out from the label, and then the back had a bunch of like white out like in between the screws. It was just horribly cared for, and I wasn't gonna pay that. But I was able to find a copy online for under $100. I did find one on eBay, and so I went ahead and grabbed it because I really like the beat 'em up aspect of this One Piece game. It kind of reminds me of Dragon Ball Adventure on the Game Boy Advance, which is probably my favorite beat 'em up on the Game Boy Advance. I mean, I always say that, but then I remember games like Astro Boy and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. But getting this One Piece game was really cool. And again, it's still a pretty pricey game. Now, the pricing of retro games is crazy right now. It's all over the place. It's the summer of 2026. We are 6 years post the 2020 euphoric highs of retro video game hunting, and video game prices are still going nuts. And I think the thing that's really driving that is this impending doom, this feeling of, people losing physical media. And we're definitely feeling it in the PS3 space, but I do think that the prices of retro games are just kind of all over the place. Now, I recently asked you guys a question and you all answered it. And I want to say, and it was in regards to what you think is a good deal. 15% of you felt like getting a game that at 10% less than market value is a good deal. 45% of you said that getting a game at 25% or less of its, from its market value, you said that was a good deal. I want to say 30% of you felt like getting a game at 50% of its market value or less was a good deal. And then there was about 5 to 10% of you that felt like you're not getting a good deal unless the game is $5 or less, no matter what the game is and no matter what the market value is. There were no wrong answers to that question. It should have been a poll. I think I put it as a question, so I got some comments about, wait, how's my answer wrong? There were no wrong answers. I just posed it wrong. I didn't post it as a poll. I posted it as a question. I think this is very interesting, and it's very telling of where we're at in the market. I remember for a long time, people, there were a lot of people who felt like the only good deals were like those garage sale prices, like, getting like Silent Hill for $5. That was the only time you got a deal. But I think a lot more people are starting to readjust to the retro game market, and they understand, hey, to get good stuff, you have to pay up. Otherwise, you're just not really going to have good stuff. And so I think we're in a very interesting time as far as pricing. And I think because good physical games are getting harder and harder to source, people are starting to accept some of these values, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think of some of the GameStop pickups? What do you think of this super clean Game Gear? And I will catch you all on the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.